With the new MyLowe's Pro Rewards American Express card, earn 3 points per dollar spent on Lowe's qualifying purchases for the first 6 months after card account opening. Plus, save 5% every day on eligible purchases at Lowe's and earn points on eligible purchases everywhere else Amex is accepted. Card members get more at Lowe's. Subject to credit approval. 5% can't be combined with any other offer. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Points subject to loyalty terms at Lowe's.com/terms and credit reward terms at Synchrony.com/MLPRA-terms. Visit Lowe's.com/business credit.
This is the Washington Times front page for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The Department of Justice is dropping a $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund it created that was designed to compensate President Trump's political allies. Lindsay McPherson reports the decision was made after Republicans in Congress raised concerns about the politics of the arrangement. They made clear they wouldn't pass their party-line immigration and law enforcement funding package unless the White House made major changes to the fund. The DOJ said it wouldn't move forward with the fund after a U.S. District Court judge issued an injunction last week. A DOJ spokesperson said it will abide by the court's ruling, claiming the fund would have been open to anybody who was targeted or persecuted, regardless of political affiliation. President Trump says peace talks with Iran remain on track after he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and representatives of Iran-backed Hezbollah. Vaughn Conkane and Tom Howe report the president said talks were continuing during a day in which Iran threatened to suspend negotiations over Israel's bombardment of its proxies in Lebanon. Iran said the assault near Beirut violated the April 8th ceasefire that has been hanging by a thread. The U.S. and Iran were on the cusp of finalizing a 60-day memorandum of understanding to extend the ceasefire, yet talks were tripped up again by fresh skirmishes and disputes over Israel's bombardment of Hezbollah. Polls ahead of California's gubernatorial primary show Republican Steve Hilton is close to securing one of 2 spots on the November ballot. Susan Ferricchio reports Hilton is suddenly neck and neck with Democratic billionaire Tom Steyer for the likely second spot in the jungle-style primary. Chad Bianco, the Republican sheriff of Riverside County, has fallen to single digits after being at or near the top of polling just a few weeks ago. Democrat and former Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra currently leads in polls, followed by Hilton and Steyer. Progressive activists at a recent panel said radical activism hasn't translated big turnout into lasting political change. Carrie Pickett reports the UC Berkeley panel complained that today's activism is dominated by influencer culture, draining energy from the work of community organizing. Panel members said the Women's March and Black Lives Matter protests were major social movements in raw numbers, but it was questionable whether they produced durable political victories. The panel identified several possible explanations, including crisis fatigue from the resistance movement against President Trump, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip. And finally, a proposed U.S.-backed investment in South African rare earth minerals is emerging as an unlikely bright spot amid strained relations between the two countries. Joseph Hammond reports American industry and policy leaders are intrigued by the Phalaborwa Rare Earths Project. The project is focused on extracting metals from waste byproducts from fertilizer and phosphoric acid production. The U.S. International Development Finance Corporation took a $50 million equity investment stake in the project in 2023, yet political difficulties between the White House and the government in South Africa remain significant. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. The Washington Times. I'm George Gerbo.